Start with that Senate race. Governor Janet Mills officially announced her running for U.S. Senate this morning. 77-year-old Mills was reportedly urged to run by national party leaders. And announcing her run, Mills says, quote, "I've never backed down from a bully. I never will. My life's work has prepared me for the fight, and I'm ready to win." She went on to say, quote, "Donald Trump is ripping away health care for millions, driving up costs and giving corporate CEOs massive tax cuts. Susan Collins is helping him. My life's work has prepared me for this fight, and I'm ready to win." She criticized Senator Susan Collins specifically for her role in overturning Roe v. Wade through confirming Justice Brett Kavanaugh. We caught up with Senator Collins in Bangor over the weekend, asking her about her relationship with the governor and her thoughts on Mills as a potential opponent and what Mills' main goal is for her campaign.
I've actually always had a good working relationship with the governor. I don't really have any comments on the Democratic primary, other than that I think it's going to be very interesting to watch.
There are too many politicians in Washington, including Susan Collins.
Susan Collins, we want to thank.
Who've forgotten their principles and let bullies like Trump have their way. And it's hurting Maine people. I've never backed down from a bully, and I never will.
Collins has held her Senate seat since 1997. The Maine GOP releasing their own response to Mills' announcement, saying in part, quote, "Congratulations to Chuck Schumer on getting one of America's most liberal and unpopular governors to join a race where moderates have had historic success. If elected, Mills would be the oldest freshman senator in U.S. history." And in order for Governor Mills to have the chance to unseat Susan Collins, she'll have to make it through that primary first. She's now one of 8 Democrats running. University of Maine Farmington political science professor Jim Melcher thinks that primary will serve as a true test of the Maine Democratic Party and the direction it wants to go.
Sets up a real ideological and generational challenge in the Democratic Party. Do you want the establishment? You want something new? No one else could represent that traditional Maine Democrat today as well as Janet Mills can. Plattner's everything the opposite. So we're going to get that race that a lot of people wanted, kind of a referendum on that stuff. And Janet Mills getting in the race, they're going to deliver.
Melcher adds this will be a ranked choice election, so while it may be billed as Janet Mills against Graham Plattner, the Democrat with the most buzz before Mills got into the race, every vote and ranking could come into play in that quest for 50%. And a Maine Democrat running for U.S. Senate has chosen to suspend his campaign. In a press release, the founder of Maine Beer Company, Dan Kleben, says he has suspended his campaign to endorse Governor Janet Mills. He says, "I got into this race for the same reason I started Maine Beer Company, to do what's right. Governor Mills is the right leader for this moment and is in the best position to win." In a statement, Governor Mills says, "I have great respect and admiration for Dan and am honored to earn his support." Kleben announced his run for U.S. Senate back at the beginning of September. Graham Plattner, a veteran and oyster farmer who is running for Senate as a Democrat, released a statement in response to Mills' announcement. He says, in part, Chuck Schumer should be focused on fighting Donald Trump and protecting health care for millions of Americans, not meddling in a Maine primary. D.C.'s choice has lost to Susan Collins 5 times in a row. We can't afford a 6th.